Okay. Thank you all for joining us. Now we're going to discuss this issue. Could I have everyone please sit down? Let's take your seats, please. We have the next panel starting. So we're going to be talking about financial inclusion. Ibrahim has gone to get a coffee, I think, so hopefully we'll see him, but we will start. So in the discussion today on financial inclusion, we had a bit of an introduction to this already in the previous discussion. So thank you. Please take your seats. So I want to start with a bit of level setting, and then I direct this first question to Madam Lobna. So when it comes to financial inclusion, we've seen some incredible things happening over the last few years. As Khaled mentioned from MasterCard, if you look back maybe 10, 20 years ago, we had half of the world's population who had never had access to banking. And this has started to change rapidly. But it's changed faster. Ibrahim, please join us. It's changed faster in the developed world, where people are excluded, than it has in the developing world. In the developed world. So developing world, it's happened faster. There's some very interesting statistics behind this. You have Kenya, for example, is often cited in M-Pesa, went from 20% financial inclusion to virtually 100% financial inclusion in the space of just 6 or 7 years. This is incredible shift. And it should be assumed that for the central bank, that the stated goal of most governments is 100% financial inclusion. I think that's to be expected. But as we've seen some of these changes taking place, we've had to think about financial inclusion in a different way. In the United States, where I live in New York, the United States has the third highest branch density in the world. So if you look at the legal and regulatory framework in the United States, they have various laws like the Community Reinvestment Act and other things that were attempts to mandate back in the 1970s and 80s a way to create financial inclusion. And for example, the CRA says you must have a branch in each town in America. If you're the last bank in that town, you cannot close your branch, because branches were perceived as that mechanism for financial inclusion. And yet, the United States doesn't have full financial inclusion. 20% of US households are still excluded today. Now, in Africa, when we look at this problem from sub-Saharan Africa's point of view, we learn that 70% of those in sub-Saharan Africa that don't have a bank account, they're unbanked, would have to spend an entire month's salary to physically get to a bank branch. So that is obviously not the solution. So, Madam Lobna, if I can ask you this question. Looking at this problem in Egypt, the requirement to get a signature on a piece of paper and get people into a physical branch to open a bank account, that seems to be that in countries like the United States, this requirement actually produces financial exclusion. So how in Egypt can you get to 100% financial inclusion, do you think?
Okay. Thank you, Brett. Although I just have to confess that your presentation made me a little bit worried that maybe that we will not be able to catch up so quickly with what's happening and banking 401. So, but what I can definitely say are two things. First, financial inclusion for the central bank is really on the forefront of our agenda. for several reasons. It is a very important tool to create financial and social stability. It's a tool to meet the aspirations of a lot of our people, especially young people and women, because through financial inclusion we'll be able to create opportunities for inclusive growth. So that's why this topic is not on our agenda for the fact that it is the talk of the town, everybody's talking about it, but no, it is really a deep down conviction by central bank management, and I think we've seen from the very short speech of His Excellency the Governor today in the morning how important this is. And that's why we are really focused on this topic, and what we are trying to create in terms of financial inclusion is not just availing the financial, not just having bank accounts. In Egypt now, we have 32% in terms of financial inclusion. People, adults that have either a bank account or have a post account. But the issue is with the usage. There is a very low rate of using these accounts. Some of these accounts are just opened because for employment reasons or for getting some payments from the government, and then they are no longer used. So our approach for financial inclusion is not just the mere numbers of getting to 100% of bank accounts or post accounts, but is really how to put in place a complete ecosystem, a complete environment where we allow for usage, and usage with quality service, where we also have proper consumer protection framework in place, especially if we're talking about new technology tools of availing these financial services that need a minimum of financial literacy, and as well as protecting our consumers in that respect. So that is the approach that the central bank is really following up. Now, this means a proper regulatory environment, a proper regulations in place that have also to be done in coordination with a lot of other stakeholders. It's not just the Central Bank of Egypt. We have other entities in the government that we need to cooperate with to be able to deliver on that front. It also means financial literacy and a minimum financial literacy so that people can also use these financial services in a way that can leverage these financial services in a way that will improve their livelihood. It also means that we have to incentivize, push, talk to our financial agents, which are mainly the banks, in how to deliver and structure products that meet the needs of the users, not just saying I have so many products, but they have to be tailored for the different segments of our society. Egypt has a very diversified population base. We have a lot of people that are illiterate. We have a lot of people that have sort of cultural norms. So the products have to be tailored in a way that meets these demands. We have women that needs to be serviced in a certain way. But what we see as very positive is what the purpose of a convention like today, and that is the development of technology. Because I think technology will give us a leapfrog improvement in what we want to deliver, because we're very much far behind. It comes with its challenges in terms of having the regulatory framework, in terms of everything that you just talked about earlier, of how we can be up to date. For us as a regulator, it's a challenge of how we can be up to date with new technologies. They speed, they have a lot of agility, more than the sectors. It is a challenge for us also with the banks and how to incentivize them to move that fast. But as much as it is a challenge, it is also a very large opportunity that we really need to utilize very quickly to be able to, I think, just overcome the fact that we as a region and Africa, we are behind. Our figures in terms of financial inclusion and financial services are the lowest in the whole world. And at the same time, to be able to meet the aspirations of our people, especially that in countries in the region and Egypt specifically, we have a very large young population, and they have their own aspirations. I would also like to say that technology also, it's the other side of the coin, which is not just the financial services, but also that technology and fintech specifically is also very important for our young people in terms of innovation. We have a very good brain bank in Egypt. A lot of our Egyptian young people are already working as freelancers in fintech solutions that are being promoted outside Egypt.
Exciting.
So we really, as a regulator and as a government, also need to use the advancement that's happening to avail to our young people and give them the chance to bring out their talents and innovate and be able to be for Egypt to be actually competitive and an exporter of such new solutions.
Very good. So Ibrahim, let me ask you a question here. When we look at the US, we still see financial exclusion there. But part of the problem with this has been there's a very strict documentary requirement for getting a bank account in the United States. So you heard from our friend Nadeem from Pakistan talking about this concept. But we still have this requirement for a signature on a piece of paper. Now we have e-brokerage systems, like we have e-finance sponsoring the event here and so forth. So we've been able to open accounts, like brokerage accounts online and so forth. Why is it we still require a signature to open a bank account? It's not secure, it's not unique, it can be copied. So why do we still use a signature for account opening? Why don't we have mobile account opening already in the MENA region, for example?
If you allow me to speak in Arabic.
Sure, of course.
I would like to أنا عايز أدي فكرة بسيطة عن اللي e-finance عملته مع الحكومة ومع البنك المركزي عشان ندي فكرة احنا رحنا فين وبقينا ريدي دلوقتي للريجوليشن الجديدة أو الترانسفورميشن بتاع الديجيتال ترانسفورميشن اللي البنك المركزي دلوقتي بيساعد فيها أكتر مع الحكومة. اللي احنا بنقوله ايه؟ اللي احنا بنقوله ان البنك المركزي كان حظنا كويس كاي فاينانس من 2008 وبنشرف ان سياده المحافظ موجود دلوقتي، هو اللي بدأ من 2008 مع التيم مع الدكتوره رانيا والتيم اللي كان في وقتها في وزاره الماليه، انه عملوا بروتوكول. البروتوكول ده انشأ اول بروسيسور از هاب للجفرمنت بيمنت اللي هو اي فاينانس. البروتوكول ده تمت دراسته عن طريق واحدة من الأكبر شركات العالمية وقتها اللي عملت دراسة وقالت السوق المصري نبتدي فيه ازاي والجفرمنت نبتدي فيها ازاي. في الوقت ده كان جزء من الترانسفورميشن في مصر لأنه كان كله بيبر وورك. أهم جزئية المركزي عملها مع الحكومة في الوقت ده في الدراسة دي الفاليو بروبوزيشن بتاعة الأطراف كلها اللي شغالة في القصة. زي ما الدكتورة رانيا كانت بتتكلم وبتقول إيه؟ ان كان لازم البنك نشوف الفاليو بروبوزيشن بتاعه ايه، الشخص نفسه المتلقي الخدمه الفاليو بروبوزيشن بتاعه ايه، الحكومه الفاليو بروبوزيشن بتاعها ايه، البروسيسور في حد ذاته الفاليو بروبوزيشن بتاعه. من اصعب الحاجات اللي اتعملت في الدراسه دي انها اخذت وقت، انما في النهايه طول ما احنا ماشيين كنا بنشوف ايه الايم بتاعنا. من ضمن الحاجات السؤال اللي حضرتك بتقوله الكونفينينت بتاع العميل. العميل بيحب ايه؟ في الوقت ده كان العميل بيحب لازم يمضي على ورقة، وفي نفس الوقت لازم ياخد الكارت في ايده، وفي نفس الوقت لازم ياخد كل الكاش من الاي تي ام. قابلتنا صعوبة. ايه هي الصعوبة؟ ان كل الناس عايزة الاي تي ام تبقى فين؟ تبقى في المبنى الحكومي اللي هو بيقبض فيه. برضو الحكومة كانت مع البنك المركزي كانت مور رياليستيك للسبجكت، وبدأت تقول ايه؟ احنا هنقرب الاي تي ام لمواقع الناس عشان نخلي الناس تستغنى عن انها تروح لازم تاخد من الخزنه او الراجل يديله الظرف على مكتبه. ده في حد ذاته كان مور انفستمنت، انما المور انفستمنت ده خلانا ان احنا الحمد لله في اخر 4 سنين قدرنا ان احنا نخلي 4.5 مليون موظف جوه الحكومه بالتعاون مع البنوك انهم قدروا دلوقتي ياخدوا الفلوس بتاعتهم عن طريق الكروت. الاهم من ده انه هو عشان نخلص الجزئيه الاولانيه بتاعت حضرتك بتاعت السيجنتشر بتاعت العميل، عملنا شغل مع اي فاينانس مع الوحدات الحكوميه اللي عددها كبير في كل الجمهوريه اراوند 2500 اكاونتنج يونت. الشغل ده اتحنا للبنك المعلومات بالسيجنتشر مجمعه، فدي خلت الناس ما تروحش البنك، بقى في ميديريتور في الوسط. عملنا انيبلنج للديتا بالسيجنتشرز بكل حاجه باستخدام المحول القومي والمقاصه الالكترونيه الاي سي اتش بالتعاون مع شركه بنوك مصر، ان احنا وصلنا للبنوك اللي مشتركه في البروجرام وهيئنا الانفايرمنت للبنوك انها تاخد الداتا دي بالسيجنتشر مجمعه. في الحاله زي دي قدرنا ان احنا نسهل الامور شويه على البنوك، وان احنا نقدر نديهم البيانات المتاحه اللي هم عايزينها بالريجوليشن في وقتها، وان احنا في نفس الوقت نتيح ان الناس دي تبتدي تغير الكالتشر بتاعتها من انها تبقى كلها عايزه الكاش يوصل لها في مكتبها، انها تاخده من الاي تي ام. بالتطور اللي حصل في السنتين اللي فاتوا عن طريق المحول القومي والبنيه التحتيه بتاعت اي فاينانس مع البنوك، التشانلز اللي البنوك فتحتها بقت اكتر، وبالتالي الناس دي بقت الاو اكتر انه ينقل من الكارت للموبايل زي ما الدفعه اللي المركزي عايز يعملها في الديجيتال ترانسفورميشن في الوقت ده. فاللي احنا فيه دلوقتي ان احنا عايزين نغير للي اجدد شويه، ان احنا نربط الكارت بالموبايل، بحيث ان الموبايل بالسيجنتشر بالديتا زي ما شفنا في الانترودكشن اللي حضرتك عملتها والافلام اللي اتعملت، ان ده يبقى اسهل للبنوك كديتا. واحنا ماشيين في طريقنا في خلال السنتين اللي فاتوا، قدرنا ان احنا ندخل القطاع المصرفي اكتر من 35 مليون شخص يقدر انه يستخدم القطاع المصرفي، سواء هم ناس في منتشرين في كل الجمهوريه، حتى 80% من بعض البرامج كانت كلها من الصعيد. Thank you.
Thank you. Very good. So Hisham, maybe I'll redirect to you at this point. We see all of these challenger banks around the world. You know, there's 30 of them in the UK alone. US is, I think, at this stage probably about 80 globally. All who are digital-only account opening. So how do you go about transitioning National Bank of Egypt from this current approach where most of the accounts are opened in branch to being more like a challenger bank that only does it digitally?
I think His Excellency, the Governor, was very clear this morning that we're rather behind and we have to make up for lost time. The way to go about it, first you have the electronic know your customer or kill your customer. Some people may think it may resolve issues of global population growth. But definitely the challenge is, as Mr. Ibrahim was saying, firstly, we don't have a digital identity. We don't have digital IDs in Egypt. We don't have big data to collect and consolidate all the data and make it more seamless. We still have this wet signature that's required. We need to change a lot of the legal framework that we have in Egypt to accept such digital or cyber kind of signatures. In addition to that, I think the integration that takes place between the banking sector and the fintechs in Egypt is picking up. It's still in its infancy, but definitely with time, we're going to need to expand on it. For example, I'll just give you an indicator. Firstly, the central bank was very flexible through the Egyptian money laundering combating unit. In November 2016, they issued more flexible terms for the mobile payment and mobile wallets, and that eased a little bit the KYC required for such products. Since November 2016 to date, we at National Bank of Egypt have around 2.5 million mobile wallets out of a total market of around 8.5 million. During that same period of time, we opened new accounts of just 1.4 million new accounts. So this means when you lax the process for KYCs and you can bring on board new customers and new segments, that's very important. Collaboration with fintechs opens the area for a new segment of customers, mainly the youth. Everybody's going around with the mobiles, even we're addicted to them now. So it will take place. Moving, as you clearly said, it's not a matter of changing the facade that you're using, and at the same time following the same mortar and brick in the background. So it has to be a kind of a total integration of how to work there.
Top down, bottom up. Yeah. So Phillipe, your organisation Vodafone, of course, has been involved in essentially what has become the poster child for financial inclusion, right? M-Pesa in Kenya. Yes. And obviously you've tried to replicate that in other markets and so forth. But what is it about Kenya particularly that enabled us to use this mobile wallet architecture on Vodafone Safaricom network? What is it about Kenya that made it so successful so rapidly?
Thanks, Brett. Actually, it's not specific to Kenya. I think there are three reasons that really explain the success of M-Pesa. First, there was a massive customer demand because, as you mentioned, right, 75% of the population, when we launched in 2007, didn't have access to any financial services. And we had the solution because most of these people had access to mobile phone. They were just waiting for a simple, cheap, reliable solution, no monthly fee, a tiny commission to make it work. So that's the first reason. The second reason was we immediately got the support of the central bank, of the regulators, of the government, and that was not easy at that time because mobile money didn't exist anywhere. Right. So it would have been easy actually to shut down and say, no, leave that to the banks. And actually we entered in a very constructive dialogue with the authorities, and we came up together on a way to manage the risks. And without that cooperation, M-Pesa wouldn't have happened.
It was really important. The central bank governor there, was it Dr. Patrick Njoroge?
Yeah, absolutely. You interviewed him a couple of months ago, yeah.
He was lots of forethought, really.
Very open, and it's it's fair questions, fair topics, and I think by a good discussion explaining the use cases and so on, we can make a lot of progress. And I think the third reason is that, well, we had a visionary CEO in Kenya at that time, a guy called Michael Joseph, who was my boss actually until last year, and he understood the potential and he decided to invest in the product. And it's very expensive. You need to build a new distribution network. You need to invest to educate customers, build trust on something that is very important to them, their money, their hard work money, right? Yes. I think that's really the three reasons. But the good news for the industry, for all of us, is that we have been able to replicate that success in other markets. So if you look at today, we are present in 8 markets, 2 markets under the Vodafone Cash brand, like Egypt, 6 under the M-Pesa brand. And in a number of markets, we have achieved critical mass, meaning more than 50% of our GSM base are having a mobile wallet. So imagine what could it mean for Egypt, over 20 million wallets, right? That would be a massive breakthrough. And actually, some of these markets are growing faster than Kenya at the time. Wow. So if you look at the penetration on the base since launch, at the same stage as development, the race is on, and I have 2 countries who are ahead of Kenya. Wow. So the answer is yes, we can replicate that success in other markets, and I'm absolutely convinced that Egypt could be one of these markets. So I hope, as you mentioned earlier today, that this year will be the wake-up call and the year of the takeoff.
I was really impressed. A year ago, I visited Kenya. I went on the street and used M-Pesa, and people told me on the street when I asked them that, and this was consistent, they trusted M-Pesa more than they trusted cash. Mm-hmm. I thought that was incredible. But Madam Lobna, here's the challenge. You spoke about financial literacy earlier, but the farmers and the workers in Kenya, they have zero financial literacy, but they're now been included in this system through this technology. So is financial literacy still required to get access to these services, or is it just technology?
I think it's a combination of both. I don't think that maybe financial literacy is more of a long-term, consistent way of approaching, especially if we talk about putting financial knowledge and literacy for children at school. So because this is something that has been very much lagging in our region financial education knowledge is zero, and I would say that even today, a lot of the people that are financially included, that are very well educated by that, but they don't have proper financial educational knowledge. And that really impacts the way they are managing their assets. It's not just having a bank account as how I can choose between different financial products. So I cannot exclude and say because now we have mobile literacy or that we can have quick wins by introducing mobile knowledge and or getting some of the services done through technology or mobile channels, that we ignore financial education, especially in a region where this is completely non-existent. And what is also more important is that in our region we have a lot of young people, and actually technology is going to help to expedite the process. It's sometimes difficult to teach an old dog new tricks, but if it's a young population, you already have the technology and the global outreach through your mobile or through your iPad or even the internet, is that the education process is going to be even much more speedier than before. So I always say it has to be both at the same time.
Now, we had a question from VJ here. He asked if in the United States, why do you still have 20% of households excluded? Because they have identity infrastructure there. But actually, those who are mostly, I don't know where VJ is, but those who are excluded in the United States, mostly it's because they don't have a driver's license or passport, which is a requirement for getting a checking account in the United States. So this, again, supports the argument for a national ID program. Kenya, of course, had a sort of fairly interesting approach to this. They worked on the national ID system in parallel with the M-Pesa agents, so that was pretty significant. Yeah. Hisham, maybe back to you. We've seen these challenger banks emerge. And we've seen the fintechs come along. As a bank, how do you go about deciding which fintechs to work with? What's your process for that? Is culture important? Is it all about the technology? Has your organization had to adjust to incorporate these partnerships?
Well, as we said, fintechs in Egypt, they're still in the infancy phase. So the number that are out there, they need to be augmented, they need to be supported. Traditionally, banks relied on their internal capabilities. I think that's an age that has gone by, and now
it's coming to an end. This age.
Definitely.
I like to hear you say that. This is positive.
Well, we faced it over the past 5 years or 10 years. So I think that's what's happening. We've collaborated with a lot of fintechs, whether startups or well-developed. In both cases, I think it depends mainly on the efficiency and the effectiveness of the fintechs or the way that the banks want to do business. And having banks do their internal applications, that depends upon the capability and the capacity that they have internally, as well as the momentum that which they want to run. If they want to run fast, I don't think that they can rely on their internal systems. Right. I think they have to buy things that are already out there or that can adapt. As I said, with the mobiles, we affiliated with fintechs and with other international brands. We deal mainly with top-level technology providers. And on that front, I think what needs to be done more is to collaborate with fintechs. I mean, as His Excellency the Governor was saying, banks have to put it in the forefront, either by adopting incubators for fintech technology, expanding the capacity of fintech funds to kind of bring this business up and running in Egypt.
Okay. So we've got a couple of minutes left, that's it. So let me just give you each 30 seconds, and let me ask you this question. If you were the central bank governor today, what's the first thing you would do to create this momentum in Egypt? Ibrahim?
It's a good question. If the governor gave me this chance, I think the first step that I just now tell him that he gave us a very good challenge with implementing the digital bank. I think this is a good chance for us, and I am in his position. I can't, but if I am, I will do it definitely.
Phillipe?
I would ask for two things, actually. One, to make mobile money succeed, we need a very dense distribution network. So it's not only about technology, but the agents have actually a key role in educating people and bringing financial literacy.
So allow deposit taking through non-bank entities.
Exactly, and registering customers as well. So we need the right authorization to recruit agents, expand our network. And by the way, we could give dozens of thousands of jobs to people of Egypt by building that network. So that's the first one. The second one is we need a number of use cases to cover the needs of the market. And we need the required authorization and as quickly as possible to be able to expand the ecosystem and cover health, financial services, and payments.
Madam Lobna, I'm not going to ask you to give your boss advice, okay? So I know enough not to ask that. But Hisham,
He's my boss as well.
He's your boss as well, of course. But do you have any requests of him today?
I think definitely working on a kind of a digital ID for Egypt is required. This will make our life much easier because customers coming in and out, it is an issue to get to them. And definitely the legal framework that requires that I mentioned at the beginning, I think that's a major factor to spearhead the movement of bringing in people through the mobile payments, through different, if we're going towards the digital bank, then the structure, the documentary process that we're working with won't support us.
Needs to be completely rethought. So I don't know about you, but I found this panel very, very interesting. We've got quite a diverse group from different aspects of the system, but they're all saying some of the same things to us here in terms of where we need to go and what needs to change. But here's my observation. You know, for 30, 40 years in the MENA region, banking has been fairly conservative, changes very slowly, and we're about to embark on a period of time here where everything is going to change in a very short period of time. To me, obviously there's challenges, but that makes banking very exciting and very sexy. Maybe for the first time ever. It's cool. It's going to be cool to be in banking in the future, right? Because that's where the action.
If we still have a job in that,
happen.
If we still have a job in that technology environment.
Exactly. Yeah. So please join me in thanking the Deputy Governor, Ms. Lobna, Hisham, Ibrahim, and Phillipe for participating in this panel today. Thank you very much.